Peace, infinite waters, diving deep once again. We are out here, we're in nature, breathing in that good ass prana, baby. It is a really, really cloudy day here in California, but that only means it's a great filming day. How to discover your past life. Someone wrote in asking if I could talk about past lives. How does one discover who they were before this life? We ain't even had breakfast yet. Can I get a hello there? And we're already getting in these kinds of questions. Got a question? RalphSmart.com. Instagram us at Infinite Waters. Now, as a psychologist, as a counselor, but more so as a multi-dimensional being, a lot of people always ask me about past lives. What do I think of past lives? And I'll tell you that I actually use past life regression, which is a technique to actually learn more about who you were before this life, to actually access my subconscious mind and help me become my greatest version. Quick slow motion. Slow motion. Right? Now, put your hand up if you believe in past lives. Okay, 50%, that's good enough. Now, don't believe anything I say. You've got to know it for yourself. A lot of people have a feeling like they've been here before. You might walk into a room and get a deja vu. And that's a sign, again, that something isn't quite right. Some people have dreams, reoccurring dreams of the same scenarios. They're in the same location, but they're not just ordinary dreams. They are reawakening somebody's memory. And this person now knows that this dream is a dream of significance and may hold a clue to who they were before this life. And I get tons of people telling me this. Now, if we go back into the ancient world, what did ancient civilizations think about past lives? Well, in ancient Kemet or Egypt, past lives, reincarnation, this was as common as you talking about avocados and tomatoes in, well, Whole Foods. It was common knowledge that human beings don't die. We are immortal. And when a physical body leaves the earth, the soul travels on and inhabits, takes on another form or shape. Have you ever looked at an insect and think, goodness gracious, that could have been me? It happens to me a lot. Now, Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher, the great philosopher, said, what we do now echoes on into eternity. In the Indus Valley, they talked about past lives, reincarnation. This was common knowledge that human beings, we are energy, and energy can never die. Albert Einstein talked of that as well. Energy can only be transferred. So a lot of us, deep down, we know that we are energy. And that means we're going to be here, wait a minute, forever and ever and ever. And we ain't even had breakfast yet. Okay, let me share with you what's helped me along my journey. discover who I was in a past life. It all starts with the name. And I've spoken about this before, but not in this kind of detail. You see, what you name yourself, you shall become. But you see, what name do you choose for yourself? I know when you were born, your parents just called you Lucy, John, Jill, Tony, and you're like, why? Of all the names in the world, why did you have to choose that? So, when you are going along your journey to become your greatest version, you choose a name for yourself. And it happened to me along my journey. Now, before we continue with that, let me just say, I've got to give credit to the great psychologist, Dr. Helen Wambach, the clinical psychologist who dedicated most of her life to studying past lives, and she did past life regression, where she would hypnotize people and then ask them questions, and they would reveal all kinds of things like, wow, right? And all kinds of different names of who they were. Also, Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia Medical School, who dedicated most of his life to studying about reincarnation and past lives, talking to over 3,000 children who had recalled past life experiences, memories, fascinating stuff, but you got to read it for yourself. So I began to discover who I was through the name. I actually used to go by the name of Kemet Prince 1. How many people, put your hand up if you remember me by Kemet Prince 1? Because I've always had an affinity to ancient Egypt. I was probably in one of the mystery schools there washing your feet. Not washing your feet, actually. Probably we're just talking about, what a beautiful day today. Your name. A lot of people, they have a name they choose for themselves. Sometimes it's the Rain Man. Sometimes it is a name with a lot of significance. Don't just call me Ralph. Don't just call me Danielle. Don't just call me Andrea. Don't just call me Ben. No. Your name is more about the kind of element you describe yourself by. So when it was the Kemet Prince 1, I was by the ocean, beautiful day. I said, goodness gracious. Trigger came. I said, infinite waters, because I've been here for a long time, like forever. But I had an affinity to the ocean. I've got such an affinity to the ocean. That's why I live by the beach. Every day I'm in Malibu. I'm in all over the place on a beach. If I'm in Brazil, I'm in Ipanema. So I love the ocean. But you see, your name is going to help you discover who you were before. Because the name that you choose for yourself is really based on the principles you hold, but also they hold clues to where you were wandering before. Like I was probably around an ocean before. I must have been swimming with dolphins. So it's just natural, infinite waters. Now, the area of interest is a great way to really discover who you were in a past life. What are you doing right now that you love so much? Your talents, gifts, and abilities right now hold clues to your past life. I used to work in a school with lots of screaming children, and every single child had a different talent. You see, these talents these children had and have weren't learned in a few minutes. They were coming in with talents and information from a previous incarnation. Slow motion that side. We've been here before. Certain people know how to do incredible things with their body. And you're like, how? And you try to do it. But you see, you don't know where they were before this incarnation. So you begin to discover who you were by recognizing right now your area of interest. For me, I always knew I love helping people. And that's why when I did my own past life regression, I was a healer. I was a shaman helping people. And that's what I'm doing right now. But if I didn't know who I was back then, I wouldn't have the confidence to be doing what I'm doing right now. And that is why past life regression is so fundamental and so helpful in helping you become your greatest version. Your area of interest. What are you focused on every single day? What makes your heart go like, oh my goodness gracious, that's so exciting. You see, we are drawn and called to different areas for specific reasons. There are no accidents or coincidences in this universe. Everything is in divine order. And that's why a lot of people say everything happens for a reason. But you see, you are doing what you are doing right now because you have always been doing it. It has led you up to this point. You see, we start off from where we left off. Let me repeat that. We start off from where we left off. The arcane wisdom, the hidden information, which a lot of people know, is that human beings are immortal. And that's why people are planning a building 50 years in advance. Right? They already got ideas for a building they're going to build. You're like, why? If we're all going to just perish away? Because they know nobody ever really dies. You're a nerd. Nobody ever really dies. That's what nerds know. That's the whole hidden joke. But don't worry about that. Your level of consciousness will help you discover who you were in a past life. So I've gone over the 4 levels of consciousness: the drone, the artist, the alchemist, and the wizard. Now, in becoming your greatest version, you realize that you are always evolving. You're always growing. And you're always changing. But you see, a lot of us have a level of consciousness. For me, it was, okay, I got to stop eating animals. 7-day vegan challenge. But this is not for everybody. A lot of us were trying to convince people to see the world how we see it, not realizing that everybody is here on a different mission and is coming from a different place. So you got to allow people the freedom to experience their own life how they choose. Because we've been to places where they haven't been. But your level of consciousness, a lot of people are drawn, they have an awareness, a knowing about the planet, the Maya, the Maya, the illusion that they see before them. A lot of people, they see through the TV, they say, wait a minute, it's all a bunch of lies. And some people, they're just eating popcorn like, oh my gosh. And that's okay. Because what you see is what you need to see. And what they see is what they need to see based on the memory. We are multidimensional beings having a human experience. That's what the mystics have told us over the centuries. When I began to realize that I know about this much. But as I'm meditating a lot more, my memory is coming back. That's why a lot of people, they're in a job and one day they just say, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do what I know I came here to do. Because they are discovering more about their past life. Now, time is an illusion. Everything is happening simultaneously. That's the trippy part. The past, present, and the future are all happening right now. To discover more about your past life, what's helped me along my journey is knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. You see, a lot of us have great strengths. Okay, what is your greatest strength? What is your greatest strength? Okay, some people might say, well, I'm very caring. What's your greatest weakness? Some people say, well, I keep eating all the chocolate cake and not sharing it with anybody. That's okay, right? We have to look at our unresolved issues. What really annoys us in other people? You see, once we start identifying our strengths and our weaknesses, we start learning more about who we were before this incarnation, because we realize what we've got to work on, but also certain fears. You see, a lot of traumatic experiences, childhood traumatic experiences, are buried deep in our subconscious mind, emanating from a past life. Sometimes this incarnation, but sometimes there is no explanation. Like the parents are like, what did we do? We gave them everything. And what's happening? And you're right, you did. But you see, the child is not just being born right now. The child has been born many times and has many memories. And that's why if you're a parent, you know that certain times children are doing certain things, the babies are doing certain things, and you're like, why? Because once again, they have lived many lives. So how this actually helps me in becoming my greatest version right now is by saying, okay, Ralph, what do I need to work on? I used to be afraid of really being, I've always been vulnerable, but really opening up, right? And I knew that in this incarnation, I had to learn more about just being fearless to talk about subjects like indigos and things like that, where people might think, oh, what are you talking about? But guess what? That is what has changed my life. That's why every day I wake up with a bunch of grapes in my mouth. Life's fantastic, right? So you discover more about your past life. You discover more about your past life when you know what makes you go, yay, and what makes you go, oh my gosh, right? You develop an inner knowing of who you are by your tastes and your likes and dislikes. And if you want to discover more about your past life, it all comes down to who you are connecting with right now. Let me repeat that. To discover your past life, you've got to know who you are connecting with right now is not by accident, right? If you are watching Infinite Waters, if you've ever watched a video, that is not by accident, because there are millions of videos on YouTube. Right? So why are you watching this one? Because, well, you love the cat down the road. But that's another story. People, they remind you of who you are. That's how to discover your past life. Sometimes people, they tell you things. They say, gosh, your eyes are sparkling like this, or you've got a certain energy about you. And they help trigger your subconscious mind to help you remember your true life purpose, to help you remember what you're here to do on planet Earth. Slow motion that side. So for me, what happened to me was I was just talking one day, a long time ago, to someone, and they were saying, gosh, yeah, You're a healer. I remember. And we were having this conversation. It's almost like we were going back in time, right in the present moment, because once again, everything is happening right now. Have you ever spoken to someone and you just know, like you've known them your entire life? Because you have. The people we are meeting now, we have always known. They've always been a part of us. So you discover more about your past life by seeing who you are connecting with right now and who you are naturally gravitating towards. So along my journey, I meet a lot of mermaids and a lot of dolphins and a lot of witches and a lot of wizards and a lot of cats. No, this isn't Harry Potter, but it seems like it. A lot of deep divers, a lot of people who have a very different way of seeing the world. Because back in a past life, I was a wanderer. I was traveling, asking a lot of questions, and these are the same kinds of people I'm meeting today. Now, we all have power to change our destiny, and that's the greatest gift of discovering more about your past life, to realize nothing is set in stone. And like Marcus Aurelius said, what we do now echoes on into eternity. That's why you can actually redesign your entire life. So when you come back, or you don't want to come back to Earth, you don't? Why not? Never mind. When you come back to planet Earth, where you start off will be where you left off. Like where I leave off will be like with a bunch of grapes in my mouth. And when I come back to planet Earth, I'm gonna actually be born with a bunch of grapes in my mouth. Because what we do now echoes on into eternity. Everything is recorded in this universe. Got to dive again into the Akashic records. We'll come to that later. So once again, to discover your past life, see what you are naturally gravitating towards, see your name that you choose for yourself, identify your strengths and your weaknesses, see who you're connecting with, but more so see your area of interest, because that in itself is the greatest sign to what you are doing, what you should be doing, and what you will always be doing. Slow motion that side. We're just out here in California on a really cloudy day. Woo! Breathing in that good ass prana, baby. Have a beautiful day. But most of all, enjoy yourself. Infinite waters. Diving deep. Once again, stay well. Stay healthy. Peace.